Hello, this is Margaret Craig, and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show. In this show, I'm taking deep dives on a variety of topics with a variety of guests. So, without much further ado, on with today's show. Welcome to today's episode. I've been thinking long and hard about how to introduce this. Because this episode did not feel like a podcast recording. It felt like a conversation between two people, and we go from one topic to the other. But I wanted to release it because for me personally, there's so much value in here. And I think you might recognize yourself in a lot of what we're talking about. So in this conversation, I'm talking to my coach, mentor, friend, Lindsay Carricarte. She's from the US. And we start off in this conversation by talking about my child, well, my youngest child. Lindsay bases a lot of her coaching around human design. So if you want to listen to this episode, it might be good to know a little bit, just a little bit about what human design is, because we start the conversation off by talking about how my youngest child, who's a manifester, how he can get quite angry when he cannot express himself. At the time of the recording, he hadn't yet turned 2. He's just turned 2 now. Then we go on to talk about how both of us are projectors and how we are trying to live in alignment with that design, and how that can be a little bit tricky in this modern world. We give our views on a lot of different topics, and it's both, I think, personally entertaining, and there's wisdom in there, and hopefully it can be a conversation starter for you with your friends as well. And I'd also actually love to hear your thoughts about some of the subjects we discuss. I love these conversations because there is no end goal to them. There's a lot of respect, mutual respect between me and Lindsay. There's an openness and willingness to learn from each other. So I'm hoping that this conversation comes across as that. We had a couple of technical gremlins, but I've tried to tidy them up for you. And I hope you will take something out of this conversation. Maybe there's a couple of things there that will stick with you. Sometimes when I listen to podcasts, there might be an hour-long podcast and they will stick with me because of one sentence somebody said at a random place in the conversation. I love long podcasts like this myself, which is why I tend to let recordings go on for a little bit, because I think that's where the gold comes out, because we let our guard down. The longer we talk, we tend to let our guard down. So yes, on with the episode, and it starts quite abruptly, so just be prepared. All right, hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
No, so he goes to he goes to childminders, and they were like, "Oh, he's such an angel. He's so easygoing. He stands his ground," they say. But so he's not a pushover, but he's really lovely, blah, blah. And then at home, he's like, if he doesn't get more yogurt, or if he doesn't get whatever more he wants, he's like, he's like, if he doesn't get the iPad, he's won, right? And I'm just thinking, good Lord, he's so angry. He's lovely, he's gorgeous. And people go, oh, he's the most beautiful boy I've ever seen. I was like, yeah, and that saves him, because otherwise I would have murdered him because he's so angry.
I would be interested to do this is really the only reason I want to have a lot of money is so I can just do studies on things, right? I would love to do a study and get a bunch of manifestor babies, and just see, because not being able to express, right? Like they can't express themselves. So they can't ask for what they want. They can't. So of course they're going to go into their not self, like anger, like, what? I would be curious to study it though, to see how many feel that. That anger at not being able to like just be like, God, mom, here's what I want. Like, like
I know this is a common friend of ours. She's got a manifested boy, and she said, oh, when he learned to talk, it was just like, oh, thank goodness. And all of a sudden she's like, he's the easiest one because he explains so well what he wants. And another friend of mine who's got a manifested boy, who's born on the same date as Freddie, actually, but 5 years and he's
Wow.
5 years older. She's also like, his language, once it developed, is just brilliant. It's just spot on, and he explains, and I've just learned to, I think this is what they say about manifested babies, that they just need to learn to ask permission. So I want to do this. Is that okay? So I think that's what they say. And then what my friend says, the only thing you can ask a manifest the child that you're raising as well is just to say, please just don't die, because they will do whatever they want to do anyway.
Yeah, that independence. And also, right, like,
Oh, you're broken up with me. I can't hear you now. Come back, Lindsay. Come back, come back.
so that then later you're asking everybody for permission. Oh, there goes
Yeah,
my
sorry, you
internet.
broke up. I just, you froze in this position here as if you were having a pretend gun to my face. That was quite funny. Sorry, no, I think it's a bit of a delay, but you have to. Yeah, I think the thing is that they have to ask permission, or like kind of like explain what they want to do, right? And just say, is this okay? Am I right? Like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna run into the street. Is that okay?
yeah,
Yeah.
like them learning that like fine line between like telling you without overly being like, oh, I need you to approve, because then that sets them up for failure later. But like also recognizing you're still a child and you don't always know what's best and what's okay and what's safe. So yeah, it's like that fine balance between like telling you, explaining, but also, is that okay?
Yeah.
Right? Like getting that, like,
Yeah, because like, you don't, and it was interesting that the childminders to say he's not a pushover. He will stand his ground. Whereas maybe a couple of the other kids will be like, oh, okay, whatever, do whatever you want. So he would be like, no, I'm not having this. But just at home. So when we were picking him up the other day, I mean, his sister, he, my daughter tried to lift him up to take him out of the house, and the childminder, he's like, one of the childminders, he was just like, who is this child? He's not like that with us. But I was like, this is what we get at home, because when he doesn't get his way, all hell breaks loose. So it's interesting, isn't it?
so funny. It's so funny. It's funny to see too, like the dynamic with different different people in different environments. So,
Yeah. But listen, I wanted to get you on, and I cannot even remember what it was, but it was something like self-sabotaging as a projector, wasn't it?
yeah,
Can you
it
remember?
was that. It was that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the self-sabotage and the sort of very subtle thing so many of us have as projectors that has us like trying to do it like everybody else, right? And never feeling good enough or like it fits. So then you sabotage it,
Yeah.
right? And it's like it's not going to work because you can't force it to work as a
So we go
projector.
into
Anything.
something, we enter something kind of already doubting that it's going to work. And so, of course, it's not going to work
Yeah.
because we don't believe in it.
Yeah, because I think that so many of us like actually don't even believe that success in any form is possible in a way that actually like would feel good for us, that wouldn't feel like, right, it's like there's that like you go into something and in the back of here, way back here, it's like, well, I'm not like them, right? I'm not like that generator over there, I'm not like that manifestor, I'm not like that manifesting generator, so I can't do it, because the way that I am isn't enough. It's not good enough. So it's not going to work because I don't even really believe that this can work,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
always believe.
And
Mm-hmm.
so what I also find is that I often just withdraw from situations or withdraw from groups or kind of uninvite myself, because I feel like I'm probably not going to belong anyway, or I'm probably not going to have a good time anyway. I'm probably not going to be seen, or I'm probably not going to, all of these things. And then I wondered, and then I start overthinking and go, oh, maybe they just think that I think I'm too cool for them. Do you know, like proper playground stuff.
Yes. 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 The amount of times that like it's exactly that, you go into something and you're like, yeah. And this is where like you can transfer the conversation to like relationships or friendships, right? It's not just like success or business. It's like every area of our life we do that, where we just like we lead in with the like, well, you know what? Nobody's gonna fucking want to hear what I have to say anyway. So why would I go to this thing? Why would I go hang out with them? Nobody's going to listen to me anyway. I'll just stay home, right? Because by the time we get done thinking about what it's going to be like, it feels exhausting. So it's like, I'll just stay home.
Yeah.
But then we're bitter, right? We're bitter because
Absolutely. So resentful. So resentful. Yeah. I mean, but now I've learned to like embrace that bitterness a little bit as well. Because I'm like, hang on, before I would have been like self-wallowing in this bitterness and this pity and this like, oh, poor me. And now I'm just like, hang on, am I actually just doing this to myself? Am I actually just not living how I'm supposed to live? So it's a nice sort of guidance, or a nice little sort of course corrector in a way, isn't it?
it really is. And that's what I had to like recently get really honest with myself about, where it was like, okay, everything that I'm doing in my line of work, I'm just feeling bitter. I'm feeling like it's forced. And I'm feeling like I have to keep doing this because, like, oh, I've been invested X amount of years and X amount of money, right? So to stand there and be like, I have to let this go, was like, oh God, it was like very challenging to come to that place. But the moment I did, right? The moment I was like, okay, I have no idea where I'm going to go and what's going to come from this. But like the bitterness dissolved, right? And there was no more of that, like, you know what I mean? Like it just stopped. And I feel so much freedom around myself because there's no pressure. Because you know what? Like as projectors, whatever we're doing, if we're trying to make friends, if we're trying to make money, if we're trying to do a business, if we're whatever, it doesn't matter. Trying to parent, it's like if we are forcing it in any way, I feel like for projectors, it backfires more than it does for other types if we're trying to force it. Like if we're in there trying to like, it doesn't work.
No, but it was funny as well when I read that message where you said like, oh, I'm going to step back, I'm not going to do anything, blah, blah. I was really sad because you coached me. Oh God, it's been a few years now, and it was one of those life-changing moments, if you don't mind me saying, because I just felt like, oh my gosh, she's seeing me in a completely new way. And for me, it was one of those, when we finished the coaching thing, I was like, no, I want to keep going, and then I like extended that, and then I did another round a year later, I think it was. And so for me, I was really sad because I felt like I had so much help from you and so much guidance, but at the same time I was like, I know what you're talking about. I completely know what you're talking about, because sometimes I'm also just like, why do I even bother with any of these things? I'm just like, I know that I know so much about things that can really help people with their health, with their nutrition, all these things, and then I see like friends, family, whatever, just like not taking me up on the advice. I'm just like, but I'm right here. So like,
I know,
sad for you, but I also was like, yep, I hear you.
it's just because and that's what I realized. It's like so when I took that step back and I created that space, it was like all of a sudden it was completely obvious to me how I was like trying to convince myself that I fit here, right? And it's like now I don't know what's going to come, because I probably will teach or coach again in some capacity, but differently, because it's like where it snowballed to, and you're doing business online too, you do stuff online and content and all of it. It's like I feel like for us as projectors, we have to be so, and not, I don't want to say careful, like for because I don't believe like we need to be like, oh, cautious and afraid and da, da, da. I think mindful is probably the better word, right? We have to be so mindful how we use social media, especially when we are trying to run a business or do a thing or impact people or teach, right? Because it's like it can just pull you in so much. And because we're so prone to being conditioned, it's like before we know it, we're all caught up in some snowball of energy that's like, wait, why am I even trying to do it like this? I don't even want this,
Yeah. This is it's interesting. It's like we want to be successful, but also it's just like, I just want peace. I just want a peaceful life. And can I marry the two? Maybe I can't. So then do I actually self-sabotage? or
Yeah.
you know what is going on. I mean, the overthinking is real sometimes as well, and sometimes I think, and the interesting thing is, well, I don't know, you can tell me, but I wonder if you've had more people reach out to you since you just went, well, I'm not doing this anymore.
Not like in any huge sense, like not to like jump in and try to start working with me. But I've noticed an increase in like the metrics of my social media, right? It's like, because I'm still posting, I'm
Mm.
still talking about the things I talk about. I'm just not actively selling any way to work with me because I'm not taking anybody on. And even my content is like, it just is what it is on any given day. And I've noticed that there's way more people watching, reading, listening, commenting,
Yeah.
just in general, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, there's like no pressure here now or something, right? There's just no, it's like, oh, it's almost like they feel more comfortable to sort of be visible in my like little sphere of social media, visible by me, the projector, right? Because it's like, okay, it's safe to kind of like be visible on a projector's post without actively like coming in and trying to get them to focus on me. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Because
yes, exactly. Because
a lot
that
of
can be
people, yeah,
uncomfortable. Because you see right through everyone. That's probably why as
yeah,
well, that it can be a little bit scary for a lot of people, that it's uncomfortable seeing or hearing the truth sometimes, isn't it? And especially you, because I think you've honed in on that gift as well. You're just like, well, this and this is your problem. If somebody were to ask you, like, can you tell me where am I going wrong, or where, I mean, you would be able to see straight away. So it could also be that people are like, whew.
I'm not ready for all that. I'm not ready to hear how I'm like creating all of this, right? Like, because of course it's always easier for people to, even myself, like, right, my own self. When I came to that moment where I was like, shit, I don't actually believe that I can make the amount of money that I want in an easy way that feels like it wouldn't overwhelm me.
Yeah.
Right? I had to admit that to myself. Like, it's a hard pill to swallow for any of us when we reach that place where we have to admit that, like, we've got some bullshit belief or some limited belief. You know what I mean? It's confronting. And I mean, even me, as much as I love that journey and I take that journey regularly for myself, it's still that moment of like, oh God, like, God, I'm ridiculous, right? Like the shit that we do.
Yeah, but it's like, but none of the work that you're talking about is like you do it once and then it's done. It's, you've got to revisit these things, don't you? You've got to revisit, like, because I will also have periods where I'm just like, oh, I can't be asked to do all of this. It's just like, what's the point anyway? And then you kind of get sucked in a little bit again, and you've got to remind yourself that like the reasons why you do anything. But that's a continuous process, isn't it, to kind of ground yourself again and again and again, or not necessarily ground, but you know what I mean, like to go back to, why am I doing this, and what is important to me, and I think that goes for any profile, doesn't it?
Yes, all constantly, constantly. And like what it comes down to is like any one of us, it doesn't matter what our human design type is, right? Like coming back to like the idea of self-sabotage, any one of us, my husband and I were talking about this yesterday. It's like you will always find the time and the energy to do whatever is your priority, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever's important to you, whether you're consciously aware that it's important to you or it's just a total subconscious thing playing out, you'll make time and energy for the things that you want to get done. That's just a fact. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like when we don't actually, I realized this because it's like we just did a hike the other day and it was very challenging, right? And I was like thinking about it afterwards. I'm like, well, I can do hard things, right? Like I can go on this hike. I can fucking climb up to 12,500 feet, like track mountain climbing. Like I can do hard things. So what is it about running a business online and being a coach that I can't do, right? Not can't, but like won't do.
Yeah.
And I realized it's like when I set out for that hike, I fucking know that there's a lake up there. I know the destination. I know where I'm going. I know that I'm going to get there, and I know that it's going to be worth it. I know that every moment dragging myself up that mountain is going to be worth it when I sit at the top, right? When it comes to like business and money, or like sometimes with relationships for some people, it's like, if we don't know that that outcome is there, you can't force your way through it.
No.
You know, and that's, I think, where we really start to sabotage. And I think there's another nuance for that for projectors, because I think so many of us really don't know that there is like a picture of success or money or joy in relationships that actually looks the way we want it to look, which is that peace and that ease, right? That not being pulled in 1,000 directions, not being constantly having to be 1,000 things that we're not to get the result.
Yeah.
And that's where like then the sabotage will come in, because it's like, well, if
she's frozen on me again. Right, so I lost you, but we were talking about hiking the mountain and knowing what the goal is and knowing it's going to be worth going there. And because we don't know that necessarily with business. Oh yes, now I remember. You said something about an added layer for projectors.
Yes, the added layer for projectors is that we really don't know for a fact that that lake is there, right? And the lake is like that picture of the success or the connection in our relationships or whatever it might be that looks the way that would actually feel good and authentic for us, right? Like spacious and peaceful and easeful. It's like everything about it is clouded with all of this like hustle, and you got to be going, and you got to be giving, and you got to like constantly be doing all of this stuff that's like not natural and overexerting yourself. And it's like, we don't actually believe that picture is there for us. So it's like, that's where I think the self-sabotage kicks in, because it's like, you look at it and you're like, well, if that's what it has to look like, I don't want it anyway.
Yes.
Right. If my friendships are going to look like this, where I'm constantly unheard anyways, I don't want them. If my success is going to be chaining me to, you know, being online and dealing with people's crap 23 hours a day, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we then sort of pull back and revert to like, well, I'll just like go over here and, you know, not do that.
Yeah, exactly. Be resentful and bitter and hate everyone. So what's the solution then? Tell me. I mean, I don't know, but it's an interesting one, because I have so many conversations with people where I'm going like, oh, the education system is broken, politics, as we both know, is broken, society is a little bit broken. Society is not created for us all to hold down 2 jobs and have children and family and still stay sane. Society is made for us all to, I don't know, enter an early grave because we're overworked and overstimulated and undernourished in both physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. And now I don't even remember where I was going with this, but it's like, there has to be another way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like we're really, you know, even in like the online world and everything we see, like, I think everything is going through a transition right now, right? From us individually to like the bigger picture of things, all the way to like the politics of the world, right? Everything is going through its transition, because I think we really are realizing like this way doesn't work, right? But that old way still has its hold on a lot of things. And I think for us as projectors, it starts within us, right? Like it starts with us being, I guess, brave enough to really, when something isn't working and it doesn't fit anymore, and you're just feeling so deeply that it's like not the best use of your energy, to let it go.
Yeah.
You know, to let it go and see what comes. Like so many people, I feel like we hold on to things way past their expiration date. Because why, right? Society tells us you should have a career for X amount of years, or you're afraid there's not going to be a, you know, a replacement for that money or that relationship or that person or that place. And I think we just have to be so willing to pull back our energy and recalibrate, you know what I mean? And go into like those seasons of like, whether it's rest or reflection or like contemplation, to take that space and be like, all right, you know, it's time for me to close this down without knowing what's coming next or how it's going to look. And I think the more we can do that as projectors, the more we'll be in that energy of like ownership over our genius and our guidance. Because as long as we're out there trying to force ourselves into like the spectrum of the world, it's just going to keep on going. So it's
Do you
like
know
we have to be the ones to be like,
yeah.
nope.
Yeah, but that is a scary, because you know that picture of somebody digging for gold, and then they give up, and then the diamond is just there on the other side. I'm sure you've seen it, some sort of comic strip, and it's basically like never give up. But actually, um, it's okay sometimes to walk away, isn't it? But we're so worried about, if I just do a little bit more, then
Mm-hmm.
then maybe tomorrow, maybe next year. And I had this conversation with my husband as well about how long he should be doing the type of job he's doing and everything, and how, we always been talking about, but in a couple of years time, in a couple of years time, in a couple of years time. And I said, but what about now?
Yeah,
What about
exactly.
this moment now? Like, there are so many little things that he's missing out, and obviously that allows the rest of us to have the time together. It allows me to have the time with the children, so he's giving us a gift in doing what he's doing work wise. But at the same time, we don't need everything we've got. We need the time, right? So sometimes I think it's okay to let go, even though you feel scary because you're worried about the diamond maybe being just on the other side, or if I just hack a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But
Right.
it's a balance, right?
Right. Well, and I think that that's where we have to get really honest with ourselves, because that whole thing of like, oh, but maybe it's just right there. Maybe it's like it'll never be there if we don't have that belief in that identity, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if we do have the belief in the identity, sure, that next tap and it's probably going to open up. And I think that's where we have to get out of our heads and into like our body wisdom, our intuition, our inner knowing, and get really freaking honest with ourselves that it just isn't right. And it's like the knowing. And I think that's where I got to, because like that, right? I've had so many of my coaches share that image with me over the years, right? Every time I felt discouraged, every time I've wanted to give up. And it's like, yes, I understand pushing, but then it's like I had to be really honest with myself. And it was just like the knowing that like it's not just right there. Like I'm digging in the wrong damn tunnel. I'm in the wrong damn hole right now.
Exactly. But then you start going, or am I just a quitter?
Oh, totally. Totally. Totally had to navigate through that. Like I am so stubborn, and I love the payoff of follow through, right? It's part of the reason why I love growing vegetables. It's part of the reason I have a whole garden, because it's like you put in all this time and energy and effort, and then you get this like beautiful, bountiful harvest, right? And it's like, yeah, it's just there's so much exchange happening, right? Where it's like, so to walk away from something, I was like, well, fuck, like I can usually make everything work. You know what I mean? I usually always figure it out, and I usually always see it through. And then I just like heard this little knowing of like, well, maybe exactly where you're at is the seeing it through, and I just had to like accept that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was just thinking that maybe that is what you should be doing. On the note of vegetables, though, that's why I love my tower garden, because there's hardly any work either, and I still get the results.
Yeah.
So I'm getting everything.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, it's cool. But it is, yeah, I wish more people would learn about human design. But the more I learn, I sometimes think, gosh, should projectors even have children?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's yes, I think embodied projectors will make amazing parents, but you got to have the support too. You got to have the support to do it.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine like trying to be like a projector single parent raising multiple sacral children.
But this
Who
is
doesn't have, yeah, like who doesn't have a lot of support in their lives. That would be really fucking challenging.
yeah, exactly. And also, not understanding the systems, or not understanding the human design, because I think at least if you understand it, you can kind of appreciate, okay, this is why it's happening. But you just go like, what on earth, what did I do to deserve this, right? What have I done, like, oh, who brought this upon me? But I was thinking it because I love, and it's complete carnage in the house sometimes, but I love having everyone together, but at the same time, sometimes I just got to put my earplugs in. Do you know what I mean? Or sometimes I just got to go and say, okay, I'm just going to sit 5 minutes in here. I just need no one to talk to me. Thanks very much. And then kind of step away from it all. So but they get it now. The kids are a bit older, and one is literally on the other side of this wall. She just came home from school. They get it because they're a bit older, so they're like, okay. And I try to teach them as well that it's okay to take time apart. It's okay to take time away. And if you feel like something isn't working, it's okay to rethink and kind of, yeah, maybe think, oh, maybe this isn't the best approach, or maybe actually what I needed was just to be alone for a moment,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of alone time either.
Yeah. And I think that's where we as projectors have to, like, we have to be the managers of our energy, right? Like, we have to be willing to take those minutes away and step aside. And, like, so many parents, especially moms, get pulled in where it's like the constant, the need, it's always there, and they get very hijacked by, you know, everybody that they're taking care of. And it's like, that can be so tricky then, especially if you're a projector as the mom, because it's like the stepping away and the boundaries and the taking, it can feel so hard and bad and selfish and wrong, right? And then there's like all these like layers of things that come in. But like, you're proof, you know what I mean? The more you do it, it gets easier and it gets natural. And then, it's like nobody's taking it personally. You're actually empowering everybody by doing that, because then they're learning, they get to do that for themselves too.
Yes, exactly. And I don't want them to grow up and think, especially the girls, actually Freddie too, but it's the girls knowing, oh, this is what a mum should be like, should be self-sacrificing. And then him to think that if he has a wife or whoever he will
Yeah.
be with, to go like, oh, my other half will, we just have to, tolerate doing XYZ all the time and just be really resentful and miserable. Today, the girls would just go, mama, and ask me things. And in the end, I just went, no, not now. You sort it out. And it was, and if it had been really important, they would have gone, no, but I really need your help with this. But actually, it wasn't anything important at all. Nothing they couldn't fix themselves. No one was upset, but I just said, not now. I can't do it. You do it. And it's fine, But I think you're right. It's like, and this is where eventually I'll become the Dumbledore of the, this is such an inside joke, but when my six line, it's kind of developed, and it's gonna, I'm still very very much not there. But I think being a role model to your children and just showing them, like, I need time away from everyone. Maybe that's what you need too. Literally the other day, I almost had to wrestle one of my girls to like lie down on the sofa, do nothing, phone away, tablet away, telly away, whatever. Just lie there and just go. Okay, she was like, no, but I want to do a lot. No, just lie down. And we managed 5 minutes. And I said, wasn't that good? You did 5 minutes of just doing nothing. She's like, yeah, it's all right, man. It's all right. So, but it's good. It's allowed. It's okay. Nothing. You're not gonna miss out on anything. The world's not gonna pass you by. It's just doing nothing. And I think the more you realize how you work as yourself, and I guess this goes to anyone, not just projectors, but the more you realize how you work yourself, the more you can kind of show your children that this is okay, this is fine. And now she said to me the other day, she said, because I said, I think Daddy's working quite a lot at the moment as well, and he's quite tired. And she said, yeah, but I bet if he had time on his own, he wouldn't sit down, would he? I was like,
Such a huge lesson though, right? Like, to be able, like, yeah, because the fucking pressure.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, like, with being online all of the time, which we all are, you know what I mean? It's like, we really have to manage that. And it can be so easy to get, again, as projectors, right, get caught up in that, like, oh, I have to be on, I have to be responding, I have to be there, and I have to be, you know what I mean? It's like, and go. And you can really witness it when you finally like sit down and slow down and you watch your mind for the first
Mm.
couple minutes. You just witness all the thoughts, all the thoughts, all the thoughts. And then if you just stay with it, even 5 minutes, you know what I mean? It's like a really good start. Like
Yeah, I
that's
know,
where
but
I
it
feel
was
like,
hard. It was hard work. She struggled. I was like, lie
yeah.
down. Literally trying to get up. I was like, lie down, putting her back down on the sofa, literally like, stay there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like for kids too, like, because they're growing up so differently than we did, right? We didn't have all the electronics and the technology, you know? So even our like play was a lot more like we were just there and imagination and whatever came, oh, what do you feel like doing in any moment? And that's what like, came to be. Whereas now I don't know. I'm not the expert. Like I can't say the effect of like focus and on like brains that all the constant
Oh, I think that's been
technology
researched. I
has.
think if you read books like Stolen Focus by Johan Hari, he talks about
Yeah.
how we can't focus anymore. We can't focus on anything for too long, but also we can't daydream anymore. We walk faster, all of these things. So it's just like everything has
Yeah.
to be so snappy all the time. Yeah, and there's no time. And oh God, I remember being so annoyed when my mum was saying, "This is good to be bored" when I was little. And now I'm
I
just
know.
like to my kids, "It's good to be bored." And I'm like, I'm turning into my mom.
And isn't it crazy that like no matter where we grew up in the world, we heard some version of that same thing, that like it's good to be bored. Like they all, knew that, like regardless of like where the hell in the world you're growing up. It's
Doesn't
like,
matter one
okay.
bit. It was so funny, not regarding that, but I remember I was in Italy a few years ago, and I remember I was walking along on this pavement, and the girls were much younger than like 4 and 1 or something. And I just heard, I can't remember if I'm getting the grammar right, but this mom saying to her son, "Guarda avanti," it's like, look straight ahead, like, look where you're going. And I just laughed. I said to my husband, God, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. Parents are always going to tell the children to look where you're going. It's all the same, isn't it? Just pay attention. But yeah, it's it is good to be bored. It is good to be bored, but I think I'm struggling with it sometimes. I don't like to sit in my own thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I noticed too with the recent transition and decision was like the first week after I like just put it all down and I was like, I'm done. I have no idea what this is gonna look like. I'm done. And the first day off, I mean, because I still had some stuff that I was like completing. Like I had a couple clients I was completing with, had a couple little things to do. The first day like off that I had, I recognized for how long I had been so subtly like on all the time, right? Because when you're working for yourself and you're trying to create your own business, it's like you don't have that like, okay, that employer where it's like, okay, I'm done and I go home and I'm done now. And I mean, some people who have careers can't, even when they leave their workplace, they're still on, right?
Yeah.
But it was like, it was the same thing, even though I was working. And I was like, and for the first time in like 4 years, I felt like, no, I can just go do whatever I want today. There's no obligation to post. There's no obligation to sell something. There's no obligation to make money. There's no pressure to be answering somebody. There's nothing. There was nothing but space. And it was simultaneously so joyful and so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Now
what
what?
to now? Now what? Exactly. And it's like, you just witness it in yourself. And then it's like, I witnessed my mind trying to like make me feel bad or feel guilty or feel like, or start tripping out. But, oh, if we're not doing that, where is like that X amount of money, come from? And it's just like, no, no, we're trusting, and there's like a whole nervous system element to it as well. And the nervous system is like, when you give it space to like unwind, you start realizing how much bullshit has been programmed into your nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, I whenever I go for any sort of holistic treatment
Yeah.
with uh with my mentor, he's just like, so your nervous system? I'm like, yeah. Kind of up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one thing that always like, okay, gotta calm down. You gotta just leave it be. It's okay. Nothing's gonna, go, is the world's still where it is, the dishwasher will eventually get emptied. It's fine. It's fine, you know?
It's so much pressure, and all of those little things that are putting that pressure and elevating the nervous system come from so many places, right? Our trauma, our upbringing, our families. Okay, then if whether or not you have kids, whoever you're responsible for, traffic, bill, money, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, there's just so many places where we're being bombarded.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we don't actively take the space to be like, okay, no, because it will, the more elevated the more contracted and elevated our nervous system is, the more pressure we're going to be putting on ourselves for everything. And some people can and will and do achieve massive success in that sort of heightened energy, right? Because they're conditioned to it. Maybe they are sacral, generators or manifesting, and they have the energy to back that up. You know what I mean? They can ride those like ups and downs and be okay with it and still hold lots of success. But I think as projectors, we can't. I think that it feels so foreign and unnatural to us, and we inherently know that it's not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Which
I
is
know,
again
because I've got a defined route and I can do these things. I can, if something comes and I'm like, right, what are we going to do to fix this? Okay, I'm on it. Like, boom, boom, boom. And I get all of these things done. And I have kind of access to that. But I also know that when I'm done with all of that, I'm like, okay,
done. Like,
Complete.
yeah, you could not build some like massive picture of family life and success and everything else in a way that always had you in that like on energy.
No, but you know what? So I used to think like there's something wrong with me because
Yeah.
why can't I do what everyone else seems to be able to do? But now
Right.
I'm realizing, and I had this conversation with another mum the other day walking up to school, and I was saying, how are you supposed to have a family where both parents work full time, like society ideally wants us to do, but you also the perfect parent that always, you always are in tune with what your children needs, children's needs are, and you take them to all these clubs and do all these things, and you actually have a
You
tidy
can't.
house, and stay sane.
Yeah, you can't.
No. I don't think
Can't.
you can. Certainly, I can't. So I've gone from the whole there's something wrong with me to like society is not built for us to be healthy and in body, in mind, in soul, anything. It's not built for health.
It's not in any way.
No. For any of us, it's just that some of us are able to ride those waves, as you say, for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But so I've gone
Right.
from thinking, why can't I do this? I'm a failure, to going, no, society's messed up. Thanks very much.
Right.
Mm.
And that's, I think that's a really big turning point, I think, for all of us collectively, right? Because the more of us are looking at like, okay, I'm actually not the problem. The problem is this, like this, this society we've created that is like praising this idea of like a woman who could fucking do all of those things, right? At what cost?
Yes.
At what cost?
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, you can't. And it's like something has to give and something has, and it's like all that is like the sort, like with anything, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like collectively humanity, it's like we have an awakening around something like, okay, women's rights, right? Feminism, women's rights back in the 60s and the 70s, we have this awakening, and all of a sudden, okay, like now women are gonna like be able to go to work, right? And cool, great, we want equality, right? Everybody wants to be equal, duh. But then it like swings all the way over here, where now not only are you expected to go to work and support yourself, you're also still expected to pop out babies and raise the kids and have a neat house and all of the things. And it's like, you cannot do that. It just doesn't work. So it's like with everything, we sort of always swing too far, you know, we take it too far to the extreme
Yeah,
before then it has to like come back to center. And I think we're starting to come back to center.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
Maybe.
but it feels like we're on the edge instead. But I think this going back to trusting that we are maybe falling off a cliff somewhere where we'll land on a nice cushion, but we just don't see the cushion yet. So we're still a little bit like, shit, what's going on? But I mean, yeah, popping out babies. You live in a country, don't you, where you're expected to go back to work after 6 weeks? I could barely bloody walk at 6 weeks postpartum. So that's another thing as well. So it's like, you got your rights, you got your equality, and go back to work.
I know.
Baby can sort themselves out. The WHO might tell you that you should breastfeed for 2 years, but you go back to work at 6 weeks. That'll be fine. You wanted equality. Here you go. You know,
right.
It's so messed up. It's so messed up.
So messed up.
But it feels like we're on this, at the top of this sort of cliff now, looking down. We can't see anything, and just feel like everything's unraveling a little bit. I mean, we shouldn't even. I'm just going to say this, and let's leave it at that. Your country's politics at the moment, that's interesting, and just yeah, that's another story. But like, it feels like everything is kind of unraveling a little bit, and I think
it
feels, but then it's like, as you said, and just having the belief and having the faith that actually, and the trusting in, it's going to be okay. But it just feels like it's not going to be okay at the moment, doesn't it? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the biggest collective paradigms that we're unraveling and releasing ourselves from is this idea of like, oh, there's people in charge that have our
they know what
best
they're doing.
interests at heart, right? Like, trust the government, and yes, they care about you. And then it's like, so we're I feel like, because it has to happen like this, because if we're ever collectively gonna awaken to like our own sovereignty and our own self-responsibility, it basically has to come to this, where it's like, you look at your choices all around the world and you're like, okay, nobody's coming to save me. So it's time for me to recognize that, because on one side we have a fucking potato, and on the other side we've got whatever, you know what I mean? I don't even know what my read is on the other side, but it's like, okay, like, I would not put my life in either one of these person's hands. So maybe it's time for me to start really taking massive self-accountability. And
yes,
it's so slow. It's like so slow and painful watching people come to that realization, because so many people are still like invested in this idea of like this external entity that is gonna save you and help you out and do what's best for you. And it's like, they're not. Like, what is it gonna take for you to realize they're not? They're poisoning you, they're lying to you, they're gaslighting you, you know what I mean? And it's all perfect because you have the wisdom inside of you, every one of us. And that's what we're trying to wake ourselves up to.
Yeah. I remember in one of your podcasts a couple of years ago, you said this, and I know exactly where I was, because I was turning around the corner over there and I was driving into my road and parking up, and you said, no one's going to save you, no one's coming to save you. And it's just stuck with me. And you said, it's time to take a radical responsibility for your own life. And it stuck with me. And I can't remember which episode it was of your podcast, but I was just like, this is brilliant. It's simultaneously scary and extremely empowering.
It is. Yep. It's exactly that.
And you've got to be open to be wrong. You're going to be open to being wrong. You're going to have to be open to maybe actually listening to people who you couldn't disagree more with on the surface. I caught myself like agreeing with people that I like, famous people, you know, as in the media, that I thought they're the worst kind of people ever. And I'm just like, oh my God, I actually agree with some of the things they're saying. And you've got to be okay with kind of expanding your horizon and maybe going, oh, well, messed up there, you know, and that's scary. That's really, really scary. But I think until you can do that, and I'm still in the process of all of that, but I would just remember it's so vividly sitting in my car listening to you and just thinking, gosh, yeah, it's me. No one's coming to rescue me. I'm
Right.
going to rescue me. And I use that with the kids, and it sounds horrible because obviously I'm going to come to rescue them. I'm their mother. But I also say, like, you kind of walk around and say to people, have this sign around your head, like around you, and going, I'm really sensitive, be nice to me. You can't control anyone else. I mean, yeah, I did say that actually. It sounded really harsh, but I said it in a very loving way. Uh,
But it's true.
Yeah, it is true. You can't control what other people do because it's always like, well, she made me. Or when the girls are fighting, she made me, and she really.
Yeah.
No one makes you anything. You make you.
Yeah. That's the big, it's being like revealed right now is right. Like how many people literally will do everything in their power to try to make everything around them comfortable, right? They want everybody to behave a certain way so that they're never upset. And it's like, you might as well just go lock yourself up in a padded room.
Yeah.
You can't. It's like nobody, so they're so averse to being challenged or triggered or prodded, or it's like, but again, right? Like the diamond is formed by pressure, and the outside world is constantly just reflecting back to us. And it's like, if we keep trying to put up a wall and a buffer between us and everything we don't like what is somebody like that going to do? This is what I always like to think about. I'm like, the people who literally want everything to just be the way that they need it to be, so they are never upset and they are upset by everything. What are they going to do once everything has been removed and it's like it's just them? They're going to have a fucking mental breakdown because they haven't developed the mental like fortitude to look at themselves. It's like when they finally reach the place of like, oh, I changed everything in the world, but guess what? I'm still upset. I still hate myself. I'm still uncomfortable.
And that, as a parent, is hard because you don't want your children to be sad. You don't want them to suffer.
Yeah.
You also don't want to send them off to wherever they go once they've moved out. And then all of a sudden go, shit, well, this is a bit hard because my mummy used to do everything for me. I left stuff at home. She drove it up to school. I had a falling out with a friend. She called said friend's mum. You know what I mean? Like, and that's been really, really hard for me. I've found that really hard to know, to see, oh, they left that. I'm going, oh no, should I drive it up to school? Should I walk it up to school? And I'm having to really go, no, what are they learning from that? Nothing. They're learning, I don't have to take responsibility. She's going to do it for me anyway. They're not going to learn to have awkward conversations with anyone or just doing all these things because mummy's always there to save the day. But mummy's not always going to be there to save the day. I mean, first of all, you have to grow up, and also I'm literally not always going to be there.
No,
so
right.
But it is so freaking hard because you don't want your child to be in pain. But it's that short-term pain for the long-term, inner peace and inner wisdom and all of that, right?
Right.
Such a mindfuck.
Yeah. Well, it's such a fine line, right? It's like such a fine line between because I haven't raised kids, so I can't speak from the experience, but I watch and I listen to how people that I know are doing it, and everybody has different ideas and everybody's always only doing what they think is best. And it's like, you see everything from like the people who like the moment baby makes a peep, there they are. And it's like, God forbid the kid is crying, or all the way to the other extreme where it's like, no. We just like let them cry it out for 3 hours because he's got to learn to self. And it's like, all right, where's like the middle ground where it's like, yes, you learn to let them feel what they're feeling and navigate it, but then you also let them know that they're supported. You know what I mean? It's like a very tricky thing that I feel like a lot of people in our generation didn't really receive that.
No.
We were definitely a lot to the other side where it's like, just go figure it out. So we all have this like hyper independence, which isn't always,
And now we've got to teach our children how to function, and we kind of know that it wasn't quite right with what we had, so we haven't had a model to us, but also the independence we got from it probably is quite good, but we are in
Yeah.
a place where we like, what do we model anything on? So we kind
Yeah.
of winging it a little bit. But I think what I'm learning now, or just this morning I had a conversation with one of my kids, and what I'm learning is that actually sometimes they don't want us to have solutions, they just want us to be there, to just know
Yeah.
that actually you're there. And I guess,
Right.
well, going back to what we were supposed to talk about by sort of being a projector, I think that is where projectors can be really good parents as well, because we just guiding the person to find their own truth and to find their own answer that they kind of already have, but they feel already so conditioned at such a young age to just go and do. And I saw it today. I mean, my oldest is about to finish primary school, you call elementary school, and
Yeah.
they are exhausted, they're knackered, they are just so done, you know, because it's like go the entire school year, and they are just like, oh my god, falling to pieces. And so it's like being that anchor that just doesn't always have the answers, but just like listens and guides and kind of nudges a little bit. I think maybe that's what's going to help them find their own voice and find their own truth within, to how what works best for them and how they want to live their lives. I mean, I don't
Oh,
know. I am
definitely.
completely winging it.
Definitely though. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like not having to fix everything.
Yes.
Because
Because I've
I think
always
that's
been the
the
fixer. I've always been the
yeah.
fixer. I'm the oldest one. I've always been the fixer.
Well, and then when it comes back to what we were talking about with the nervous system, it's like if you're being raised in an environment where everything always has to be fixed, you're being conditioned to think that everything's a problem.
Yeah, and also that that's your job and that's your role in life, and also that you're the fixer. You're not the one that can ask people to fix things for you.
Yes, right. You got to do it all and you're on your own and it's all
Yeah,
on you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that
But that is
pressure
true
to have all
also.
the answers.
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly, have all the answers, but also so for me having my authority, do you remember it? So splenic authority,
Yeah.
thinking that everything is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a perfect storm sometimes as well, because I can go to bed and just go, okay, so these things and these things I have to remember, and you know, everything's a problem. And then today I thought I missed the well, I had missed the deadline for payment for the school trip, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up, and you know, everything's a problem, I have to fix it. But at the same time, my sort of, you know, not self was just like on high gear, just going completely mental on me.
Yeah.
So it's, but I guess again, having the knowledge and having the yeah, just knowing that this is what's going on, it's okay, it's the first step,
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, the recognition, oh, here's what's going on, that immediately starts to create space, when we can recognize, all right, I see what I'm doing here. I see what I'm in right now. It's like that starts to create the space where you realize, okay, I am not this. This is just like something that is happening right now.
Yeah,
And that's when we know like our consciousness is expanding, right? Because it's like when we're in our lowest consciousness, it's like whatever happens, we're like in it, we are it, you know what I mean? Like, oh God, I broke my finger. We are that broken finger. You know what I
yes,
mean? We're
yeah.
so attached and in it. Whereas it's like we start to expand and then we start to experience. And it's like, the more we can observe what we're experiencing, the more we evolve and
Yeah,
the more space we create. Yeah.
yeah. Do you know, I just listening and having this conversation with you now, I think I know what might be your next big business venture. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, of course.
Basically charging people for talking like this with them for an hour. I feel so enlightened.
I love it. And
Yeah,
that's the jam of like being a projector,
yeah,
like
yeah. Because you just said these things to me now, and I'm like, the reason I was so stressed about this deadline that I missed with this paying for this trip is because I'm the fixer. I'm the one that always fixes things and does things. And if I can't do it, who am I? Because this is my role in life, to be that person. And today I didn't quite fail because I called the school up and got it sorted. But so
Mm.
now you've kind of relieved me of that stress. I think this is your next new thing.
Yeah, now
Literally.
I have to get to the place where I recognize like, oh, there's enough value in that to exchange money.
But it but and sometimes I think like so I took a leap of faith with you the first time, because I'd
Yeah.
never paid for a coach before, and I thought, oh, it's a lot of money to be coached, but
Yeah.
actually that's what coaches charge, and that's what it is. And I didn't know what to expect, and I think that's why
Yeah.
also people find it hard to part with money, because they're just like, what am I supposed to get from this? But it's like, you can't even put your finger on it, because this wasn't
Right.
supposed to be a coaching session, but still I feel like, oh, I've come out with some real good value from this. Do you know what I mean? And it was,
That's how it is when you get with a projector, and that's
yeah.
the effect you have on other people as a projector.
See,
You
when you say
know,
that, I'm like, really? Are you sure?
I know. Yeah. See, well, and two, it's like also like if someone is like a business coach, right, where it's like, or a health coach, a fitness coach,
Yeah,
right, like there's a very specific tangible thing of like, okay, you're going to come, we're going to do sessions, and we're going to get you to your whatever goal weight, or you want to build muscle, right, or you want to have this structure in your business, I'm going to help you do that. It's very easy for the brain to then say, okay, I see the value in that, here's my money, let's do the work.
yeah,
When it comes to this more like sort of intangible, like spiritual consciousness, like emotional, it's so, you're right, you can't quite put your finger on it. And I think that that's part of what exhausted me so much, was me constantly trying to put what I do into this package
yeah,
to sell it to people. I was like, it does, like, because in my mind, like you're either going to get it or you don't.
yeah,
You're either going to come to me, maybe having no fucking idea what to expect, but you're going to have a knowing of like, I need something here. There's something here for me.
yeah,
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trust that and I'm going to sign up.
yeah, yeah. But
And
it's,
it's like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
maybe pick my brain for an hour, however many dollars. I think there is so much value in that. But yeah, I mean, I now completely see the value, and I say to everyone, you need to get a coach, you need to get a coach, you need to get a coach, you need to get a coach.
Yeah.
This coach that I work with once, Lindsay, she's brilliant. This coach that, do you know, because I understand also that it's hard, and I think
Yeah.
so many people that I know also that have started looking into human design. I mean, one of my friends, she was very much sort of like, no, 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 don't want to know, don't want to know, don't want to know. And then she messaged me out of the blue and just went, oh my God, I feel so seen. I wasn't going to do this, but I feel so seen. And she was just like, there's nothing wrong with me. I've always thought my whole life there's been something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just this profile and it's fine. And I've had people who have literally just like, I'm close to tears because for the first time in my life, I feel seen, I feel understood. And it's one of those things that I thought was just like, the only reason why I started looking into human design was because a good friend of mine suggested that I look into it. She's like, oh, can you plot it's a Jovian archive. Can you plot your name and date of birth into, or place of birth into this? And I was like, okay, sure, because I trust her with everything. Not blindly, but And I did, oh, this says projector. She's like, oh, it's the same as me. Or would you like being added to this group? I'm learning so much about it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And yeah, it was this group. And I was just like, holy shit, this is insane. And
Yeah.
I thought, what is this based on? Like stars? What the hell?
Right. Right. Well, and because human design's crazy, because it's like the more you go into it, it starts to become like very almost like scientific, right? It's like there's so much detail if you really want to get into like the nitty-gritties of like the human design system. And you're
Yeah.
just like, wow, and it fits so deeply.
Yeah. But then my husband says, don't let it fit so much so that you kind of constricted by it, that you stay in this box
I
because you feel
agree.
like I'm only this person because this is what it says that I am. But I see my children, and I'm not forcing any of this on them, but one of them has got a 4-line, and she is just like family. It's just like family and friends. It's so,
Yeah.
it's such a biggie to her. It's like, it's unreal. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely unreal how much that is her. And she's got all the same defined centers as me, and we are so similar in so many ways when it comes to emotional sponges. We need to really protect our energy, and the spleen, defined, and so the fear, but then also taking up on board everyone's emotions. Whereas my other child, who is an emotional projector, she's like, I know what I feel. Why are you upset about this? This is, like, And you know, so I'm not forcing anything on them. I just see actually this is them.
Yeah.
And it's just truly, truly fascinating.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, because I agree with it. It's like we can take anything and we can use it to like limit ourselves,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes,
And
exactly.
I think no, it's really about like taking the information and using it in the to understand ourselves. So then from there, okay, it's like, what do I want and how do I want to do it? And what's the best way for me to do it? What's the best way for me that actually enhances my energy and my gifts instead of me trying to do it like everybody else.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
I guess that was comes back to your decision to just like, I'm just going to let go of everything because actually I'm trying to do things like everybody else, or because we are so conditioned. Because I'm also like, oh no, wait for the invitation and just show your brilliance and all of these things. But actually, you still at the back of your mind, you're just like, hello.
I know.
You know, and it's hard to let go of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very hard. Like the deconditioning process is challenging.
Yeah. But knowing that that's what it is, right?
Say what?
Just knowing that that's what it is. It is a
Oh,
deconditioning process, and knowing that actually this is
yes.
okay. I'm trying to, you know, I'm getting out of this, and then this is fine. And you know, when you live the way you're designed to live, the energy that flows is just, oh, it's just beautiful. You know, when you're being seen for who you are. And I had somebody say to me today, oh, I just love your Instagram account. I just love the things you, and I was like, oh,
I feel so seen. Thank you. Yeah.
oh, do you want to be my new best friend? You know.
It's such a good feeling when it happens like organically and naturally and it's genuine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Honestly,
Yeah.
I kid you not, I'll pay for this. Like, I mean, not this one, but you know, another one. Zoom with Lindsay, an hour, however much. I think there's so much gold to be had from just talking to someone, and and you might get just as much from it as well. You know, how about that for
Probably.
business? Yeah, I mean, you might be
Yeah.
exhausted by the end of it because you give so much.
But no, I think when it's right and it's aligned, it's not exhausting.
Mm,
Do you know when
mm,
someone like you're
mm.
genuinely recognizing and inviting that conversation between us? So then it's like, it's not exhausting,
Yeah.
you know?
That's true,
And
actually, because
that's,
normally
yeah.
I record podcasts but I think that's because I'm so on. Well, actually, this is a podcast, isn't it? God, I forgot. See, this is a good sign because I often will stop a podcast and I just need to sit down and do nothing. Well, obviously, I can't sit down and do nothing now because I've got to get my kid from the childminders and cook dinner. Um, but
Yeah.
normally when I'm done, I'm just like,
Huh.
but actually, it's a good point. I don't feel like
Yeah.
that now. I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
I feel good to go.
Good.
Yeah. So and go down and tell my kid she did good. They had a school production. She did good. She did good. She was very good. Loved seeing it. But they are so knackered. So I'm gonna go give her a big hug and just yeah, get on with the second part of my job. You know, it's like you do one part in the morning of your job. You feel like you've done a day's work just getting everyone off to school. And then you do this part that's supposed to be your job, and then you do the third job in the afternoon when
Yeah.
everyone needs to be fed and put to bed.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right. Go, go,
yeah,
go. And then
yeah.
your fourth job when everybody is to bed is to take care of yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and then talk to the husband, and that doesn't happen. And this is another thing, but that's another conversation, honestly. But it's like that just goes by the wayside sometimes.
Yeah.
But that needs to be nurtured as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
God, yeah. I want to step away a little bit, like you've done. I think it sounds very sensible actually, because I think you've always said this. Like if you trust, it will come, and that is scary. But I
Yeah.
think if you can hold on to that and be brave and just know that it will be okay, then it will be.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
the biggest spiritual development ever, you know?
God, yeah. Listen, thank you for this. We've been going on.
Thank you.
I don't even know where we started and where we've ended up, but I've loved this.
It's always good, as always, you know? I love getting to chat with you.
It's been ages. But yeah, we're just going to stop this now and then just, I don't know what on earth I'm going to be writing for them for the blurb and the show notes about this, but it's like Lindsay and Mari talk about something.
all the things, all the things. Okay,
All right, I'm going to stop this now. You've just listened to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. If you'd like to get in touch and discuss any of the topics you've listened to, then please reach out to me. The easiest way is probably to go to Instagram and look me up under Small Steps to Wellness. I would also love a great review if you think that the show was great. And also, perhaps you could consider passing it on to somebody you care about. Speak soon.